This channel's real, this channel's about documenting, this channel's about talking, having an open opinions. And let's get started. Say whoa, say whoa. Say whoa. Head of a horse, the body of a man. Unidentified flying object. Welcome back to another video.
A pet psychic. She said she had a cat client. Now this cat, already dead. It lost its life. But she was talking to this cat in spirit. And I know how that sounds already. Listen to the story. She was speaking to this cat in spirit and asked this cat, why did she have an obsession with trucks, big trucks, before she died? I'm guessing this is what the owner wanted to know about her own cat. And the cat told her the reason she had an obsession with big trucks when she was here living on this earth is because in her previous life she used to be a truck. You heard what I just said? So the animal psychic said to her, that's not possible because living things can't be objects, basically. And the cat told her that all things have souls. But you don't believe me, right? Look at this shit.
Let's just get weird, all right? So I'm gonna tell you what I was never going to tell anybody.
Okay, listen.
8 months ago, I did a session for a cat named Florence, and she was in spirit. And I did the whole session, asked my usual questions. And then when I got to the point where I looked to see if the mom had questions she wanted me to ask her, I said to Florence, this is interesting. This is an interesting question. And she said, what, about the trucks?
Listen.
And I said, yes, about you liking big trucks, because her mom wanted to know why she liked big trucks. So Florence says, I used to be a truck.
Listen.
And I didn't even know. I was thinking to myself, what the fuck? What? I said, Florence, that makes no sense. She said, everything has a soul, even inanimate objects.
Listen.
And so I write all my sessions, right? I write what they say. I wrote that down, everything has a soul, even inanimate objects, and I put my phone down and I looked up and I was like, I quit. This is it. This is too much. So I said to her, I really don't believe that, because I didn't believe that. She said, you don't have to believe it. You can believe whatever you want to believe. And I said, Florence, this feels very wrong. And she said, what would feel right to you? And I said, I don't know, if you liked, trucks because you liked being up high, or maybe you drove a truck in a past life, but actually being a truck, that's impossible. She said, nothing is impossible, everything is possible. And I said, a truck is not a living thing. She said, who said a soul needs to be inside a living thing?
I'm not going to tell you what I believe, but I want to know what you believe. And I want to know now.
Communicator, and I had a session with the cat who had a lot of really cool, insightful things to say about Earth's evolution, as well as upcoming disclosure for aliens, UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them. So I figured I'd do something that I've done many times on my page and read through what the cat had to say to me. So this cat's name was Mr. Kitty Pants, and his mom submitted for a session. Once the session was over, he said, hey, I have some things that I want to tell you. So I was like, go right ahead. I said, so tell me about the Great Awakening and what's happening with Earth's evolution. He says, we are here to be a guided light to others and not pretend to be something that we are not. We have been greatly mistaken for something that we are not. This doesn't happen by happenstance. Everything happens for a reason, and it's all cyclical by nature. He then gave me the song, The World is a Cycle by Richie Spice. Says grounded energy is the best energy to reside in. Then he shows me someone putting 2 feet down into the dirt and then doing yoga poses. He says, we are in a very sacred time and space. Everything is closing in on one right now. I then got like a really claustrophobic feeling, and he showed me like a big, large glass tank, and there was a bunch of people in there, and they were like kind of like at the top of the tank gasping for air, and as the water kept rising and rising. I asked, what does this mean? He says, this is a representation of what is happening now. People are fighting against their true selves. They feel like they can't breathe. They are gasping for air and reaching out. They need to understand that we are bountiful and limitless. When humans relinquish control, they are able to embody their true selves. The evolution and change can fully come into form. Until then, we are making unsatisfactory measures to do better. Satisfactory is guaranteed at the end, but not right now. There's always satisfactory guaranteed. That's how it always ends. That's God's plan. Once again, this is the cyclical nature of things. We cycle in and out of trials and tribulations and trauma, but we must relinquish control. Seek truth. Doubt gets us nowhere. Some are seeing this as punishment, but we must see it as growth. This is not prosecution. This is meant to push us forward, out of doubt and into desire. Desire to discover thy true self. Take full autonomy and control over your life, your youth, your visibility, your speech, your creativity, and your voice. We are bountiful beings bound by no limits. I asked, can you tell me a little bit about alien disclosure? Because I was like, well, I'm seeing a lot of things popping up on the media right now about aliens and them now, like, you know, releasing documents that weren't released prior. And I'm like, okay, this cat obviously has a lot of beautiful things to share. I do want to know what he thinks about the disclosure that's unfolding right now. He says, we have come very close to disclosure, closer than we have ever been. While some facts they decide to share are true, others are not. The proof is in the pudding. The real truth will eventually come out. Until then, just stand tall and stand steady. Relinquish all control. Relinquish any need to control the narrative. The narrative is already being controlled by others. You don't have to do it. Many different species will be becoming present soon, and they will have a large appetite for the truth. Their desire to speak the truth is greater than ours, and that will be shown. They have great apathy for the lost at heart, for the non-studious. They are very studious beings and have much knowledge and intelligence to share. Growth has been part of their evolution as well. They are ever growing. They see us as beyond beautiful. They see us how we cannot even see ourselves. You will see them as disgusting imbeciles and be fearful, not truly as the beings that they are. Humans judge based off of looks, so they will be highly misunderstood. It is the human way to be judgmental, and that needs to be rewritten. It is humanly impossible for humans to look the way that they look, so humans won't understand. There will be a beige appearance to their skin, white, almost translucent-like. We must face our fears and approach them with kindness. We can be fearless beings. I asked, what are these beings called? He says, some see them as skinwalkers, but they are not. They are what we would call a skinwalker. But what they are doing is embodying their true etheric self in physical form. Their etheric body is not translated well in physical form, and this is why they come off as scary. Possibly something you would see in a hallucinogenic trip. I asked, are these the only beings that will be coming forth? He says, these are not the only beings that will come forth. There will be far more beings come forth, but these are the first ones that will step forward. Technically, not the first ones because many beings already arrived here. You just haven't seen them yet. I asked what beings will be the first ones to publicly be seen by the masses. He says, there will be no public visibility until you all are ready, which is 2027, your time. But it really just depends on how human evolution happens and ascension moves forward. He then mentions Eisenhower. And I'm like, Eisenhower? I asked, what about President Eisenhower? He says, he is one of these beings. They are organic beings, and they have taken him on as one of their own. They seem like inorganic beings, but they are actually as organic as they may come. Lucifer was mistaken as one of them. They are seen as Luciferian creatures, but they are not. They are skywalkers. They walk amongst many realms. It's going to cost us a pretty penny if we don't accept them as our own. This acceptance will be the greatest test, the test of all time. It will either lead us into destruction or lead us into greatness, but greatness prevails. I have many thoughts about what might happen, but I won't share them. Time will tell. I see you have many thoughts too, but your thoughts are justifiable. You have a very logical mind, a mixture of logic and quantum theory. I said, please share. I want to hear. I would love to hear what you think is going to happen. He says, what might happen is they may be mistaken for something that they are not. And that's why we must rise up now and educate so that this doesn't happen. The more spiritually evolved people are, the more they will understand once this happens. Misunderstanding is the biggest trial and tribulation to overcome. Judgment, hatred, fear, and lackluster energy that flows within and through all of us. Humans are very superstitious by nature. They need to learn to regulate their energy and encapsulate any fearful thoughts that could be hindering them and burdening them from an expansive future. Cats are naturally more expansive by nature and thought form. You humans lack the thought process that I have, which makes you fearful. I asked, do you have an exact time frame for the first group of aliens that will come? He says, based on my estimation, it will be late 2026, early 2027. But this could move onward into 2036. It really just depends. He then says, I'm really bending backwards to share this information. I hope you move forward and share this with resilience and strength. You have been a guided light to others, and we are very proud of you. She told me who built the pyramids in Egypt. Let's get into it. Hi, my name is Cambria. I'm a professional animal communicator, and in my last video, I spoke to a cat, and I had a lot of people ask me about the pyramids in Egypt specifically, and they wanted to know from the cat, who built the pyramids? And I was like, okay, my next session that I have, I'm gonna ask the cat about the pyramids in Egypt. And that's exactly what we did. So let's get into the conversation that I had with this cat. Her name was Pandora, and her mom booked the session. And towards the end of the session, her mom had a few spiritual questions to ask. So I figured that was a perfect time to ask her my burning questions and inquiries about Egypt and the pyramids that were built. I said, tell me about ancient Egypt. She says, in ancient Egypt, cats were a species that were highly coveted after. I asked why. She says, they're high-ranking beings with the ability to do many things. Shapeshift, they're telepathic, and they teleport. They also modulate things. I asked, why did cats come into Earth this way? She says, because they have graduated, their souls have ascended. These abilities were a gift from God, from Source. I asked, do you know who built the pyramids in ancient Egypt? She says, the pyramids were built from extraordinary forces that came from under the water. I asked, under the water, did I hear that correctly? She says, yes, a ravine and waterfall. She then shows me like a magical like water ravine flowing. And it was like the water seemed magical, and then it was like a ravine. The water was flowing through it. I asked, how did this magical water create the pyramids? Because I'm just confused. I'm like, what am I looking at right now? She then says, it's not about the water or what's in the water. It's about what the water embodies. It embodies the divine feminine. Water spirits are upheld, and they have ranking like an animal kingdom. After she says that, then in my head, I'm thinking, okay, so was this a non-physical force that built the pyramids? Like, I'm still confused. She then says, it was a non-physical force that built the pyramids. Yes, that is correct. I asked, what was this non-physical force called that helped build the pyramids? She says, extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials. I can't pronounce it. I cannot pronounce it to save my life. I'm so sorry, y'all. She says, like something out of a sci-fi movie. Highly coveted after technology was used. These technological advancements have come to surface again. We are repeating cycles. This is the same technology that is used to build the pyramids. I asked, were these beings that helped in a different dimension? She says, yes, primarily 7th dimension and 9th dimension beings came forth to build the pyramids. I asked, how did they benefit from this? She says, it benefited them greatly, more than you would think. This ravine provided a source of waterfall, a connection to source, to life on Earth. She then shows me little fishes flowing through the ravine. I asked, is this symbolic? This is symbolic, right? She says, yes, very symbolic. It will make a lot of sense to you soon, maybe not now. This ravine was used as a transference of information, technological properties that were highly coveted after. This was made to be discreet, used as a pathway so others could not get to it. She then shows me the bottom of the pyramids and she says, think of it as a water well. Things get trapped down there. I ask, so are there things that are being held at the pyramids? She says, nothing's being held in the pyramids that we don't know about already. Things are being held at the base, but we wouldn't consider that the pyramids. Most of what's going on there is energetic. Energetic realignment needs to happen in that space. It's off of the charts, electrifying almost even. Pandora then brings up CERN, and I said, tell me more about CERN. How is that related? She says, CERN is used for self-defense. It's not what we think it is. It's used for energetic realignment. It's used to safeguard us and bring us back on the correct timeline. I said, I don't know much about CERN, but some people have said that it's something that's messing up our timelines. She says, it's used to shift us out of parallel universes. That is true, but it's for the greater good, not for bad. It was intended this way, but it has hurt us more than it has helped us. We are now using it to safeguard our energy from others that intend to hurt us. She then shows me a specific group of beings. I'm not going to mention their name here on the great wide web, but she shows me a visual. And I ask, is that who wants to hurt us? And she says, yes, indeed, the blank. Hated amongst all, cowards they are. But we are resilient by nature and we will persevere through any interferences that may come our way. T. I asked then, so you said the cats were worshipped, right? She says, yes, we were worshipped because we knew how to manipulate energy and they wanted what we had. We safeguarded others too. We also worked. We didn't just sit on our asses like others made it seem like we did. Child, they did, because I thought that's all they did. I asked, are there any cats incarnated now that were incarnated in ancient Egypt? She says, yes, there are many cats incarnated now that were incarnated then. Many cats chose to incarnate over time and time again as cats to pass on their knowledge and information to people like you. We do what we please, as you know, since you have spoken to many of us. We cannot be contained. Our energy is highly coveted after. We are a very respected species. As some may know, many don't. We are very unruly. And then she ends by giving me the song, If I Rule the World, or I Rule the World by Nas. And you know, I was jamming.
I did a session for a cat named Puma and he was living, and we were talking about reincarnation and how humans can come back as animals, and I'm going to read you what he said. He said, I don't think you realize how hard being a human is until you are in spirit and remember. That is why so many of you humans come back as animals. You just need a break from the chaos, the anarchy, the struggle. It is so easy and carefree to be an animal, even a bird, not even a pet. A wild animal that is free from restrictions, responsibilities, everything comes naturally. It is instinctual. You don't have to think about anything, stress about anything. Most humans do not go from human to human to human. They take breaks as animals, various kinds, nothing specific. Some come back as pets, but some prefer to be wild, to get back in touch with nature. A human is the hardest job there is. And then he goes, you know there are aliens. I probably shouldn't get into that. And I was like, no, you should totally get into that. He said, there's a lot of your world that has not yet been discovered, planets, etc. How vast the universe is cannot be explained in mere words. When you are in spirit, you know all. You know all there is to know. You are part of the source of all information, so you are aware of these things. Human, you are not. Yes, there's a lot to be discovered that won't be discovered. There's a lot that exists you are not aware of. Other beings, sentient but different. You can choose to come back as those too. I said, that's wild, Puma. I mean, that's wild. He said, fascinating, I know. No one will believe you, just so you know. If you make a video about this, they will think you're crazy. My mom will probably think you're crazy. We can continue talking about this, though, because, again, I'm doing this session for him. We've totally veered off. He's telling me you can come back as an alien, and I'm just sending this recording off to his mom, like, hey, your cat said, you know, we can come back as aliens, right? I don't know how this person's going to respond. I said to him, well, I don't even know what to ask. he said, yes, there are aliens, other beings you are not aware of. It is impossible at this time to be aware of them. I know this because I have access to all. You do not. I would not worry about this, but yes, the universe is vast and ever expanding. Creation exists outside of this realm. There is much beyond the scope in which you see. I think we should move on now. I'm done with this topic. We can get back to the boring stuff now. So then we went back to the boring stuff. But this was the first cat that told me about aliens. There's another session that I am going to share right after this where aliens came up again. But this was the first time, and he just dropped it like, you know there's aliens, right? Like, just nonchalant, like, you know there's aliens, right? And I'm sitting there like, I don't know. It's the whole thing, this fuck session with a cat. And I'm gonna like read you the whole thing. Not the whole session, but her mom wanted me to ask her if she can see into other realms, and we were down the rabbit hole, okay? And I'm literally going to read you everything from me asking her that question. So I talked to a cat named Chloe Marie. It was, of course, was a cat. She was living. So I said, your mom wants to know if you see into other realms. And she said, of course I do. Who is she kidding? I'm a cat. We all do. I can access any dimension. I can see the various ones. I can flow back and forth. I can leave my body and come back. I can do 1,000 different things humans can't do. Well, you could if you knew how. I said, what do you mean if we knew how? She said, you can't harness that part of your brain, that part of you that can astral travel, that can dip between dimensions, see beyond the veil. I said, what does that mean? She said, it means you have the ability to harness your inner self, your soul, and travel through dimensions to see what is not there. Well, I take that back, to see what is there that you cannot see with your eyes. I said, like spirits? She said, yes, like spirits. Some advanced souls, very advanced, are able to do this in human form. A select few, and I mean a very small amount. Most humans can't, and you're really not supposed to, because that is not what life is about. You're supposed to be here in this realm, on this playground, living life in this space, and seeing only this dimension, this timeline, this space you are in. I said, okay, are you saying that there's more than one timeline? She said, there is no time, so to say multiple timelines, it is hard to explain. And then she told me to take my dog out because he was crying. And I was like, no, like, I'm just going to try to, like, wait it out. And she's like, take your dog out. Like, just come back. So I did. I said, okay, so you're saying there are multiple timelines, but time isn't real. So can you explain that more? She said, everything is now, everything is happening now. So everything that is going to happen has already happened and we can access it, but you can't. I said, are you saying you can access the future? She said, it's not the future because the future is happening now. You're confused. Yeah. She said, let me explain it this way. You have a lamp and you turn it on, then you turn it off. You've already turned it on and off 1,000,000 times. You've already given it away. It just hasn't happened in this timeline yet, meaning a past and future does exist in this timeline because you can't access the past and future now like I can. And I said, because everybody's always mad that I like don't talk to these cats for longer. So like this session went way over where I'm deep diving into this. I said, so you know what's going to happen in the future is what you're saying? And she said, I can access it, yes. I said, okay, so can you tell me what will happen in the future? And she said, you already know, the earth will be destroyed. Now, this references another session I had with a cat who was explaining how life is a playground and like earth will be destroyed, but it's been destroyed like a ton of times already. And it was really confusing, but that's what she's referencing. I have a video about that. I said, I don't mean that future. I mean, like, I don't know, 5 years from now. She said, I can access it, yes, but I choose not to. I could, please believe I could. I can see, but humans aren't supposed to know until they can figure it out themselves. I said, meaning? She said, meaning you will develop into a being that can access the past and future. You just haven't evolved to it yet. You are where you are supposed to be within the level you are at. Some people are able to access it, but it is such a minute amount, a minuscule amount. And you cannot trust it. It scares you. The paranormal, the unexplained, humans cannot handle it at this time, not at the brain level you are at. And I said, are you saying our brains need to evolve more before we're able to do all this stuff? She said, I'm saying you do not have the ability to harness everything in your brain that it is capable of doing. So most of the brain lays empty, unused. It's not harnessed. It's sitting dormant. You have to evolve to figure out how to use it to its full potential. Now, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a physicist. I don't know quantum mechanics. I don't know about the brain. So, like, if anybody wants to chime in here, I said, I mean, can you tell me how to do that since you seem to know everything? She said, you already are in a sense because you are talking to me. You have to leave this dimension to communicate. And I said, but what do you mean? Like, communication is happening in another dimension? And she said, Google what a dimension is right now. I'll wait. So I Googled what a dimension is. I mean, I know what a dimension is, right? But I Googled it and I was like, yeah, I still don't totally get it. She said communication, telepathic communication, happens on a different plane. You are accessing something higher, an overlay. Communication with beings, living in spirits, human and animal. This is accessed in another dimension. You have access to it. Obviously you do, but you had to learn how to harness it. It is overlaid directly and meshed with this one, or the dimension you're in now. And I was like, crap, I feel like I need Neil deGrasse Tyson again, because, like, I don't know, I mean, so many people are like, he's terrible and he doesn't believe in this stuff, but, like, I need somebody, like someone. So she said, you don't need him. She said, you don't need him. You don't need him. Time and space exists, your dimension and mine, the one where you are sitting in bed and I am sitting on a chair. But communication, telepathy, that is happening on a different vibration, a different dimension that is flush with the one you and I are in now. It's like when you lay pepperoni on a pizza. The pizza is a pepperoni pizza, but the pepperoni, in this case telepathic communication, is laying directly on top. I don't know if this is making sense. And I said, I mean, sort of, but, like, who knows where your mom is at right now listening to this? And she said, should we conclude or do you want to continue? And I was like, I mean, is there more you want to share about this? Because, like, I'm listening. She said, you are harnessing a part of your brain that can access telepathic communication in a dimension overlapping your own, our own, as I am in it with you. Everyone has this ability. They just haven't harnessed it, like time travel, the instant movement. And I was like, okay, what do you mean by instant movement? Because, like, I feel like I'm in, like, a science fiction, like, movie. She said, I mean, you think of a place and you are there. And I said, but that's impossible. We can't just move our bodies instantly to a completely different area. We have to walk or fly. We have to be transported by something, being our legs or something we are in, to move us. She said, no, you have the ability of instant travel. You just don't know how to do it. That part of your brain hasn't evolved, hasn't learned or even discovered that this is something that is possible. You will. And I was like, I mean, not soon. And she said, oh, no, not soon at all. It will take a very, very long time. I'm just telling you it's possible. And I said, what you're talking about, like, sounds like magic. Like, it's not real. And she said, it's real, it's just not real in your timeline at this time, the dimension you're in and the level to which you have evolved. Or barriers. You are aware of your abilities, just not when you are in body. Once you enter body, you are restricted to the limitations that are currently set on how far you have evolved. And I was like, so are we monkeys? Like, are we just not evolved beings? And she said, you are where you are supposed to be at this time, here on Earth as it exists now. The playground you are aware of. The playground evolves, and so do the things on it, but slowly over a vast amount of time. And I said, but time doesn't exist, because they all tell me that. She said, it exists here, just not there. There is a timeline here, just not there. And here isn't real, but this is enough for today. It has become too complicated and I have shared enough. And then she was like, one of my other cat friends can, like, discuss this with you more, but I'm done. So the session went, like, totally over an hour. I kept up with her. Like, I wanted to know what she was talking about, but it's so crazy because I don't even know what she's you know what I mean? Like, it's so much for me as somebody who's just like a regular person that hasn't studied any of this or, you know, just knows anything about this at all. So it was super wild, but it was really cool. He said, or his mom wanted me to ask, did you meet your mom by chance or were you sent to her on purpose? He said, there is no thing as by chance. We always come for a reason, always. We are always sent or choose to come for a reason. I am a traveler with her, so I am with her in many lives. I just happen to be a cat in this one. My mom and I chose each other a long time ago, and we cycle in and out of each other's lives. So my spirit, the spirit of my true self, will be with her always. It's quite confusing. She knows me in this life as Baxter the cat, but she also knows me, her spirit knows me as many other things as well. So when she dies, she will see Baxter the cat, but she will also be aware of every other life we have been in. So once she sees me and becomes acclimated, I will then be my true self, which is everything I have ever been to her. You don't stay only the thing you were in your previous life when you are in spirit. You are all the things you've ever been. And I said, I kind of don't like that. And he said, what don't you like about it? And I said, well, I would like to think that when I'm in spirit, I'll be with my dogs again, and I'll see them as my dogs, and they'll be there as my dogs in spirit. He said they will be, but they'll also be everything you've ever known them as. You will see them as all things, not just one thing. I know this is confusing to you. I know this may not be what you pictured. I can only tell you that it will make sense. You are under limitations now with your understanding. My words just sound confusing, unsettling, and uncertain to you. Only with the rebirth of the spirit will you understand what I truly mean, but I don't want to leave you feeling upset or worried. When you pass, you will see all your past loved ones, human and animal, in the form you knew them as. It is a transition, an acclimation. They will be there as you knew them. Once you've adjusted to being in spirit again, you will see them as all the things they've ever been, and it will all make sense. It won't make sense now, it can't. Not to you, not now, not while you are in form, but in spirit, all is understood. There are no unanswered questions. Another question his mom wanted me to ask him was, your mom wants to know if she did the right thing for you when you were sick. So we're about to like go down the rabbit hole. He said, it is so hard, so challenging for you when we become ill. It is gut-wrenching, fear and pain and sadness all knotted together. Does she think she did the right thing? That is what is important. I was always meant to become ill. It was no surprise to me when it happened. I wasn't surprised and I wasn't scared either. It is just something that was happening and did happen. There really was no making the wrong decision because everything is premeditated beforehand. And I said, what does that mean? Again, like, people are always like, she's so dumb. I get it, but I'm like asking more questions. I'm asking questions as a regular person who would want to know, more about what he means. So I said, well, what does that mean? And he said the decisions she made were the decisions she was supposed to make. It had already been planned out prior. And I said, prior to what? He said, entering the body, free will is an illusion. And I said, that doesn't make sense. We have free will. We have the free will to make whatever decisions we want to make. He said, you have the illusion of free will. Do you not remember none of this is real? It's all a game? Well, a playground, because that had been referenced, that this life here is a playground. I said, yes, but I could choose to get up right now and move to my couch or choose to stay where I am. That is free will. He said, whether you move to a different seating location has no bearing over the things you will and won't experience in your life. It depends on what the choice is and how it will affect what you have come to experience. Do you wish to keep talking about this? And I said, yes, actually, because I don't understand what about the butterfly effect. So again, please don't hate on me because I'm not understanding. This was back in December. I'm asking questions. So he said, the butterfly effect is just a means to explain how things could have been different when in fact they couldn't be. Now here's the controversial part that I didn't want to share about this. He said, I'm going to use 9/11 as an example because you keep thinking about it. Because in my head during this conversation, I kept thinking about 9/11. I kept just thinking about that in regards to what he was saying. He said, the people who chose to go in late, call in sick, make a stop along the way, those were premeditated choices, decisions that were already made and supposed to happen. The people were never supposed to die that day and thus made decisions which ultimately prevented it from happening, but they were supposed to make those decisions and there wasn't an alternative. Of course, one could say, if I hadn't stopped at the pharmacy, I wouldn't have been late, and because I was late, I survived. But in truth, a stop at the pharmacy was already planned. It wasn't a choice. It was a plan that was following through. I said, so you're saying free will is an illusion? And he said, yes. And I said, I'm really struggling with this one. And your mom, I mean, who even knows what she'll be thinking at this point in the conversation? And I heard from his mom. She was like all positive stuff, happy for me to share. He said, I'm trying to explain something to you and ultimately her as well, because she is worried she didn't make the right decision, and I'm trying to explain that it was the only decision to be made. Humans think if only a lot when it comes to the consequences of circumstances. There is no if only, there's only what is and what was meant to be. I said, are you saying our whole lives are planned and we have no control over anything? He said, what you see as control is in fact an illusion. This whole thing is an illusion. It's not real. Remember the Matrix. That is what is real, not this. It feels real because it is supposed to be. You are supposed to feel like you are in control and that this is real. Life here, it was designed to feel this way. I said, so life, are you saying Earth was a design for everyone and everything that lives on it? Now, I've covered this in other videos later. I'm just like backtracking about sharing this video. He said, that's exactly what I'm saying. It is a fictional place. It's not real. And I said, well, it feels pretty fucking real, Baxter. Again, this was like months ago. He said, that is because it is supposed to. You have a choice whether you get up and move to another seating location in your home, but that choice will not affect whether or not you die from cancer or get hit by a bus. Those choices, those events are pre-planned before you arrive. I said, but why would anyone choose to come into life knowing that they will get hit by a bus? He said, because it doesn't matter. It's not real. It's like a video game you're living in, like virtual reality. Death is not traumatic. It is not an end. It feels real. It feels very real because you have emotions and they guide you. But from my standpoint, in spirit, death and how you die is no big deal at all. That is why animals do not care if they die in tragic ways. It doesn't mean anything. It just is. I said, I still don't understand why someone would choose to come into a life where they experience nothing but pain and hardship and suffering. Now, this was covered in a recent video I posted. Again, this session was done a while ago. He said, there is not a soul in existence who has not experienced those things in a life many times, and much worse than what it is now. There's always a reason. There's always a reason, and I just cannot explain to you what that reason is. You just know once your life is complete, there is a reason for the experience of tragedies and pain and hardships. I said, I talked to a cat, though, that said the world is the way it is because of the choices we've made, but you are saying we don't have free will, so I don't understand. He said, here's where it gets more complicated. The world is in the shape it is in because of the choices you have made, but choices are an illusion. It's not real, but it is meant to feel like it is. Everyone is making the choices they were destined to make, what they are supposed to make, and thus, here's the outcome, the result of those choices. But he's drinking. He said, do you understand? Because this is very deep, heavy channel we're opening, and humans, they're not capable of truly receiving this information and comprehending it. I am only telling you because you have opened yourself to be a channel between the living and spirit world. Not everyone, actually very few people, will be able to understand, comprehend, or accept what I'm telling you, especially as it is coming from a cat. My mom made the right decision, and that was the only decision that was meant to be made. That is the answer to that question, and honestly, all I feel that needs to be said at this time. So again, this was back in December that I did this session, so I understood like less at this time. Obviously, other videos that I posted that I've done more recently, it's sort of been explained more and there's been more topic about it.
Different species, but never a cat, right? Never a cat. This is because I had never, so far in my time doing animal communication, had a cat tell me that they were a human reincarnated into a cat, right? Up until just this past week, like a couple days ago. I want to show you this clip of the session that I did 2 days ago. And just to give you a quick backstory, this cat's name is Spice, nickname's Doodle. His mom ordered a 5-question session for him, and so I decided to go on TikTok Live while I did his audio recorded session before I sent it to her.
Tell me, Doodle, Spice, why do you like to eat the human food? What I'm hearing from Doodle is he says he likes to be catered to as if he is a human because he considers himself an equal to the humans in the household. And so that's why he leans towards eating human food rather than eating any other sort of like cat food or puree, things like that. He's always going to want to eat human food because he does perceive himself that way as an equal to humans, which is interesting. The second question is, do you know if you are my cousin, Greg, reincarnated? Wow. Yes, Mom. Yes, he is Greg. I just heard, yes, I am Greg. He is me. Same entity, same being, same soul, but different form. Same being, same soul, but different entity, different form is what I heard. Sorry, I said that kind of backwards. But yeah, he's Greg. Wow, that's interesting. And so, Mom, for you, I know this was an audio recording, so you're going to receive it, but I want to know, how did you know, or what made you question or wonder? Because honestly, when I read the question, I assumed that the answer would be no. If I'm being quite real, I know there are humans who do incarnate into animal bodies, and vice versa, but it's really interesting. Can you tell me, yeah, he says he didn't like being a human, which is interesting. He said he had an urgency to leave. So yeah, I'm really interested to hear about I'm not even gonna, I'm curious to find out a little bit more about that, about Greg and what the situation was. But yeah, he's saying he did not like being a human, he had urgency to leave, he said a few other things, but I don't want it to be a sensitive topic. But yeah, so tell me, please give me feedback on that, and it's really, really interesting. Now, let me ask him, so Spice, Doodle, are there any messages that you were sending Mom to let her know that you were reincarnated as Doodle and previously Greg, or how would she know this? He's saying that like we're kind of alike in the sense where we're both very intuitive, and so for you are naturally very intuitive, he says. And so yeah, and he says he was also sending you telepathic messages as well, kind of to like point you in the right direction, like this way, yes, Mom. So if you felt like you had, I'm hearing nudges. He says you hear voices all the time. He says Mom's very clairaudient. She hears voices all the time. So, yeah. So he says if you're ever hearing anything, don't question yourself.
So as you can see, I was very, very shocked and surprised by the responses that I got back from Doodle, because I did not expect him to say that. And I, of course, asked Mom, like, please give me feedback. I need to know the details behind his human life, right? She basically comes back and tells me that what happened was this individual, this cousin of hers, he passed when he was around 41, 42. He had a long, hard life of, substance abuse and a couple of other things. And he essentially ended up passing from health complications. So I wanted to know primarily from her, like, what made you question the fact that, like, your cat might possibly be him, I guess? Because I would never think to question and wonder if my cat is a family member that's reincarnated. And she says that it was always something that she's thought about, because whenever she looked at him, she would somehow see a glimpse of her cousin's face. So that kind of was what made her think, maybe this is my cousin reincarnated. And also she said that he loved cats, and he knew that she loved cats as well. And she said also that he kind of took like the big brother role and like really looked out for her. They didn't have a super, super close relationship, but like that's how he's seen her, as like he was someone that was like more of a protector, a big brother. So it's interesting that he told me that he chose to come back and kind of just like hang around her, watch over the family. She also has a lot of family members